Okay, hopefully this is recording here. I'm going to try to show you this example here. This is factoring by grouping. And the way this thing works is um, I have a couple of examples written out here, so feel free to pause the video and just kind of look and see what's going on. But basically, I'll just try to take you through one of these, and then if you have questions, you can let me know. So, for example, what we're looking at here is trying to factor these polynomials. And when you do factoring by grouping, one of the things that you want to keep in mind about is that typically the polynomial will have four terms. And if it has four terms, then you can try factoring by grouping. So let's look at number 7. Okay, number 7, when I look at number 7, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So what you do to try factoring by grouping is you rewrite the polynomial, and you're going to group the first two terms and the second two terms. Then what you do is you look at the first two terms, the first group, and what you do is you want to look at those two terms and say, okay, what can I factor out of each of those? What's the biggest thing I can factor out of each term? And in this case, it would be this 2x squared. And then what I have left, when I factor out a 2x squared from each term, I have an x minus 1 left. Then we look at the second group, the last two terms, and I'm going to factor out the biggest thing I can from there. Now, here's kind of the tricky part is, what I did here is I factored out a negative 8. And the reason I factored out a negative 8 is because if I take a negative 8 from here, I'm left with just x. If I take a negative 8 from here, I'm actually left with a negative 1. And the reason that we want to do this is because we want these two things underlined in blue to be the same. They have to be the same, otherwise factoring by grouping does not work. So you can see here that these two things are the same, which is good. So then in the next step, to factor by grouping, what you do then is you take the 2x squared and the negative 8, and you put those together in one group, in one set of parentheses. And then you only take, even though we have two of these x minus 1s, you only take one of the x minus 1s and you put that here. Now, in some examples, this actually is finished. You're actually done there because you can't factor anymore. However, what I notice is that in this first set of parentheses here, I can actually take a 2 out. So I factor out a 2 from both of those, and I'm left with x squared minus 4 times x minus 1. Now again, in some examples, you might be finished right here, but again, I notice, because we want to factor completely, I notice that I have an x squared minus 4, which is a difference of squares. And so I take this difference of squares and I factor that again into x minus 2 times x plus 2. So my completed factored form is right here at the bottom. That would be factoring by grouping. You can see I did really the same thing over here. The important piece again is that we get these two things to be the same. Just like the blue underline, the purple underline will end up being the same kind of thing. So take a look at those examples and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.